Hi, I am Jess Reeves, and this is my Barriers to Technology presentation. Barriers to using Web 2.0 in 21st century schools. School funding can be a barrier and concern to technology available. As more technology comes out, though, the price generally tends to fall. It's kind of like when you think of your phone. When the new iPhone, whatever, comes out, the previous version is going to fall, which it may be a perfectly fine version. It's just not the newest thing. So as new stuff comes out, we can take advantage of those deals. Time, teachers are already busy by adding in new technology. We're adding to their already overflowing plate. Um, it's not news that teachers are busy, and sometimes you just want to go home and sit. You don't want to go home and, okay, I have to learn how to use this so I can teach my kids how to use it tomorrow. It's just an extra thing to do. Lack of tech or admin support, especially in small schools, when budget cuts are made, there's no one for the position. Schools can be left without an on-staff IT support. My school went through this a couple years ago, and it sucked. To put it blatantly, we had to send in tickets to some company in Kansas City, and they would try to remotely fix it, but then they need your computer for the next 2 hours, and you're like, that doesn't work. I have work to do. So that can really be a big barrier. 7 common barriers that obstruct tech adoption and education, having lack or no vision. So you have to start with a main goal in mind. Yeah, technology is great. Let's all use it. Okay, that doesn't, yeah, you're probably going to get a few people using more of it, but it's going to be ununiform. Changing what a teacher's role should be. This one I think is really hard for a lot of older and old school traditional teachers. Um, I myself like that teachers' roles are changing because I'm a big project-based teacher, being an agriculture teacher. Um, we think of teachers as being in front of the classroom instructing, but especially with technology now, that's not always the case. It's a lot more project-based, which I think is fun, but it like you always worry that admin's going to walk by and see you at your desk and they're going to be like, oh, they're not doing their job. Well, I am. I'm just letting them do their thing. Uh, Considering the achievement gap, everybody has different levels of technology. For example, you may have a kid who has a completely smart Apple home where he can play music for his mom in their kitchen at home from school on his phone. Or you may have a student who has a prepaid Celtec or whatever it's called phone from Dollar General. Figuring out how to scale promising innovations. How do we make all these cool technologies work in school? How do we make this work for our students? Lacking money to invest in technology. Again, money is a factor, especially when trying something new. And what if it doesn't pan out? Then you spent that money, which school funding is kind of tight, on something that didn't work. Thinking beyond textbooks. There's so many more advantages to technology than just trying to replace your textbooks or getting digital textbooks. Having a strong infrastructure in place, tech and human, again, sometimes, especially in rural areas, it's hard to find an on-staff IT person to help with those changes. The digital divide. A quarter of the nation was without broadband. So while technology is all around us, we need to remember there are still some who live without it, especially in rural and low-income areas where either the service is available but abominably slow, or the family may not even be able to afford the extravagance. You're always going to have people that, oh, I don't want that new technology, or for whatever reason, or they want to live off the grid, or there's families who are just struggling to get their kids groceries, and internet is not going to happen right now. OER, or open educational resources. Other teachers can often be your best resource for new ideas and even new approaches to content. OER is helping with that. I This is going to be my 6th year teaching, and I definitely think other teachers have been the best resource by far, because we can learn from each other and get new ideas and just kind of bounce that back and throw ideas back and forth. And it is the best thing. And with the internet and open educational resources, that has changed dramatically because we're not limited to just the people we know or that we see. A teacher in New Jersey and I can bounce back an idea on Punnett squares or whatever. OER is transitioning from being a pick and choose supplemental lesson here and there to having full-fledged curriculum for classrooms. So it's becoming something where we all want the best curriculum for kids. That's why we're in education. If you're not, well, but we need that full-fledged, it helps with that transitional day-to-day. The module video, Professor McFarland points out that secondary schools have an added barrier compared to primary schools, making sure technology is successful, and that's time. Primary or elementary school teachers get all day to spend with a set of students, while secondary or junior and senior high teachers only get them for an average of 45 minutes. And we're trying to make sure that every minute we have with them is used valuably. And yeah, sometimes that's going to mean taking 10 minutes to show them how to be able to download and edit an Adobe document because they look at you like, what? But time is definitely a disadvantage, especially when you're talking about secondary education. Do you feel the digital divide can be resolved? Why or why not? Ideally, yeah, the digital divide could be resolved. Realistically, no, it's probably not going to be on a national level. Because, like I said, you're always going to have those who buck the system and are like, I want to live off the grid. And companies, they're not going to do it if they don't see a large profit coming from that. They're going to be like, oh, okay, we can gain 3 customers. Not worth it to us. That being said, we as leaders in education can help those students who may have a disadvantage when it comes to technology. Something as simple as opening up the doors an hour earlier before school so that kids can come in and use technology. It's just one thing we can do on a local level to help our students. I've told my students many times, hey, I'm here by 7:30. Come on in if you need to use the Wi-Fi, if you need to use my computers. Like we recently went 1-to-1, and if their computer wasn't working, I was like, come in and use mine. It's fine. Or not my teacher, but I have Chromebooks in my classroom that I'm like, come in and use them. We'll get it done. You'll be fine. What skill sets do you feel 21st century students must acquire prior to graduation? I think it's pretty simple. Students need to be able to know how to generally use a computer and use technology to their advantage. They know how to use phones. They've got that. But simple things like general use of a computer. I have a second job, and one of our coworkers is older, and I love her. She's the sweetest lady. But when I said, yeah, you're going to have to hard restart the computer, she looked at me like that was a different language because she didn't know that just meant you have to push down on the tower and actually turn it off. So simple things like terminology, general use of a computer, creating Word documents, presentations, budgets, preparing taxes, etc. What impact has the global economy had on your personal use of the internet? For my personal use, I just have the most basic wireless package from my local company. From it, I run a Kindle Fire Stick for my TV and my school laptop and my iPad. I'm just one person, so I never really run all of those things at once, so it's not a big deal. But it's just me and my house and occasional company. I don't worry about speed because the most taxing thing I do on my internet is upload these class videos. What technology training do you still need to effectively integrate in your current position? I would really like to become trained on drones or unmanned aerial systems. They're becoming increasingly popular, especially in the agriculture sector, on how we can use them to track cattle, track where your crop is, or see where you need to spray, things like that. It's really fascinating to me, but I'm a self-proclaimed ag nerd. But I think this is a great way to show students that we're progressing in agriculture and all of the opportunities that are available. Is our school district equipped with 21st century technology? Last year we became 1-to-1 with PC laptops at the high school, and each junior high core classroom had already been equipped with Chromebooks, like a set of Chromebooks that stayed in the room the year before. I would say we're well on our way to being equipped with 21st century technology, but our biggest setback is the teachers need to be trained on new technology before showing it to students. Again, our own teachers are our best resource. Sometimes I'll go to another teacher, how can I make this work? Or Chromebooks are a little bit different. You can't copy paste like you would on a normal keyboard, or things like that, or double click, there's no right click. Just simple things like that are helpful to know before you're like, here, kid, use this. What are advantages of innovative practices in schools? I'm a firm believer in trying new things because if it doesn't work, nothing says we have to continue to do it. Obviously, if it doesn't work, we can get rid of it. Also, if we have a school we're being innovative, we're setting that example for our students to be innovators. And in today's world, that's becoming more and more important for success, no matter your field. Kids need to know how to be innovative and they need to know how to be problem solvers. What disadvantages do I see? What do we do when the power goes out or the Wi-Fi is down? Um, we've become so reliant on tech that when these things happen, we as teachers and leaders need to be one step ahead of the students so we continue to be productive. You know, maybe you have an online lab scheduled. This actually happened to me. Our entire Wi-Fi in the whole town went out. Um, Still not sure why. And then so I was like, all right, well, we'll use our phones. And that didn't work either because for some reason the towers were out. It was very strange. So it just kind of became well, okay, this is an online lab. How do we do this now? So we have to be prepared no matter what happens. Have I experienced problems with cyberbullying or other inappropriate internet use with students? Absolutely. In high school, I myself was cyberbullied and it sucked. I started going to high school in 2006, so right around the time Facebook, MSN Messenger, all of that stuff was really popular, and it made cyberbullying kind of a new thing, I guess. Well, I consider it a new thing. Um, it's just something you don't want to experience because they're behind a screen, and you're like, really? Um, have I seen it with my students? Absolutely, and they will come show me, and they'll be like, "This happened last night. What do I do?" But it's almost always associated with their phones, and when it's their phone, it gets a little tricky as to what we can do because it was outside of school hours. It's not on a school device. Uh, um, but the worst thing I've caught a student doing on a school device was watching a Fortnite video and he was already done with his homework. And I was like, oh, okay. So, all right. Thank you for watching my video on barriers to technology.